What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist here with the only one,
Gershwan.
and today we're back at it answering more questions and giving you more answers in another installment of For the Greater.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put question in front of your question because we get to those questions first. Also, if you enjoy the channel and you want to support us, you can give us a super thanks. If you do, ask us a question and we will answer it guaranteed in the next episode. We might even put it as a thumbnail. We probably will. But anyways, this question comes from Angel Warrior 28. He asks, what is the most commonly acceptable fan theory among fans as to why the Lost Primarchs and their legions were erased history and records?
Yeah, so if you don't know, there are 2 legions of Space Marines and their Primarchs that are missing from the annals of history. Now, they're missing because they were excommunicated. The Edict of Obliteration was enacted to erase them from history, so they did exist at one point or another. It is the 2nd Legion and the 11th Legion. The Lost and the Damned, purged, forgotten. There's many different ways you can call them. But at the end of the day, we know very little about these 2 legions because for the longest time, GW basically had them as like a build your own Space Marine chapter. If there's a theme that isn't represented among the Space Marines, you can do that with the 2nd or the 11th. However, throughout the years, GW has been feeding us inklings of lore into them, and fans have also been theorizing as to what exactly has happened to them. So one of the most well-known theories is that the Space Wolves completely eradicated, destroyed a chapter of, well, a legion at that point, because it was back in 30K. And they've killed everybody, Primarch included. And that is why the Space Wolves are known as the Emperor's Executioner. They're the ones that are going out to kill anything that is a threat to the Imperium from within. That is also another reason as to why the Emperor sent the Space Wolves to quell Magnus and his 1,000 sons, and that's why Horus intercepted it and said, no, don't detain, kill.
Yeah. And the reason for the destruction of that chapter, I think the common thing is like they probably didn't align to the Great Crusade and what the Emperor... they basically were opposed to the Emperor's belief of like humanity ruling and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, when it comes to the Imperium, the Emperor wanted there to be no religious beliefs, no beliefs into the gods, as well as keeping the warp a secret and not allying with Xenos. So perhaps the Primarch and their legion wanted to ally with Xenos or wanted to praise the Emperor as a god, kind of like how Lorgar did. Or maybe something else that is more chaotic or rebellious that the Emperor didn't have the time, the effort to actually re-educate or kind of put back the focus of this Primarch. So it had to be something huge.
Yeah, something that opposed the Emperor himself.
Yeah.
And then the second theory is really just because the Ultramarines had a huge boost in their numbers. Their legions were really well, there was more.
Yeah, there was
Ultramarines.
They almost doubled in size.
Yeah, the other theory is that the Primarch was at fault for the same reasons that we just talked about. But instead of eradicating the entire legion and the Primarch, they just got rid of the Primarch and then, coded the remaining Space Marines as Ultramarines.
Yeah, because it is possible to mess with memory. We've seen Malcador do it to the Primarchs with the whole Edict of Obliteration. That's why the Primarchs can't really remember who, what, why happened to the Primarchs and the legions. And because there are still the plinths, which are like statues of the Primarchs. 2 of them were destroyed, but the rubble is still there, just in case anybody tries to do anything. That's a reminder there that says, look, if you oppose the Imperium, if you oppose the Emperor, that could be you.
You're gonna get a whooping. And really, those are the 2 main ones, right?
Yeah.
Like you can dive into some crazy theories, and you can really create your the point of it, right? Like you can create your own. But at the end of the day, those are the 2 major ones. Like one of them was just the Primarch being killed, and then the other one, the entire thing being eradicated. So, good question. Next one comes from...
I got one from Brian BBBBB. Do you think the lion should have stayed young, or is the old lion better?
He should have not stayed young because he has a cool ass beard.
Yeah, definitely looks more intimidating, more badass than freshly, cleanly shaven lion. It is weird though that we see Primarchs age and nothing really happens to them, and then we see the lion who has been asleep for 10,000 years physically age.
Well, 10,000 years.
Yeah, 10,000 years can give you a crick in the neck.
There you go.
Just ask Robin Williams as Genie. But yeah, so like Gilliman, he was in stasis, so that doesn't count. All the other Chaos Primarchs, they've been ascended to like demonhood, so that I guess they don't get beards because of that. But yeah, I guess aging does affect Primarchs, just like it does the Space Marines.
Right, yeah, and I think that's a really good illustration of that, because most people, one of the common questions that we get is like, do Space Marines age? And the answer
Are they
is yes.
immortal?
Yes, but they still age, and one of them could die of old age technically. It would just take forever.
Yeah.
But with the Primarchs, you see them, because the origin story of every Primarch is that they age like that. Like they
age to maturity in like what, 2-3 months, years?
Yeah. Like maybe a year, and they're already like full grown adults. But then it also like says, it begs the question, so then did they stop, or did that aging continue? And the answer is that it stopped, kind of, or it slowed down.
It slowed down tremendously, yeah.
And then now we see them, but like age still has time, and age still has like some type of thing. So Nurgle with his entropy is still existing within the Primarchs.
Yeah.
So I think that's like a really cool reminder.
Not just that, but we've seen huge examples of this, like when Space Marines fight against the Hrud.
Yeah.
The Hrud have like time manipulation abilities. So anytime a Space Marine fights against a Hrud, there was an example where I think it was the Alpha Legion. They literally saw Space Marines fighting with them, and at the end of the battle, like some of them were reduced to literally like dust and bone.
Which goes to show, like, yes, a Space Marine will die of old age.
Yeah, even dreadnoughts do decay and rust when they're fighting against the Hrud.
The Hrud. That's a chapter that should be its own thing. That's really, like, I've always thought that you can create some really cool ass tabletop tactics for the Hrud.
Yeah,
because you're manipulating time, right? Yeah. Like you're messing with turns. You could even do what Age of Sigmar does, where it's like, well, now we have to re-roll to see who goes first for every turn. Yeah, because I'm a Hrud. OP, but still, that'd be awesome.
Definitely.
Next question.
This one's by Angel Warrior 28. What happens to the families and relatives of the Space Marines that turned Chaos and Traitor, especially those Space Marines who first turned Traitor?
In reality, the families don't exist. Like, once a Space Marine becomes a Space Marine, normally that family is told to forget the boy, because the boy technically dies.
Right. Think of it as like, he's not your son anymore. He's dead.
Yeah, he's a Space Marine now. He's a transhuman. He uses different pronouns.
Yeah.
So he's a completely different person. But for for like, I guess, Ultramarines who still had some type of family ties, they didn't turn traitor.
Yeah. Same thing with the Salamanders. But I would assume like the homeworlds of like the World Bearers, the Death Guard, they would still probably want to keep these homeworlds under their midst
they
for like
were destroyed.
Resources.
They were completely destroyed. So
most of them were destroyed.
I think they're quarantine worlds now.
Yeah. Because if the Imperium got there sooner, obviously they would want to quell something like this so that it doesn't happen again. Yeah. But yeah, definitely, if this is the type of Marine you want, that's easy to turn to the likes of Chaos, then yeah, if you're a Chaos follower, you want to keep that world under your grasp.
Control, yeah, because there was already some type of corruption there.
Yeah, usually there has been.
So when you deal with first founding chapters, those worlds are quarantined. They're destroyed. There's nothing there. They're
especially
just
Horus's Sithonia, gone. It's like rubble.
But then when you deal with someone like, let's say, the Soul Drinkers, the Soul Drinkers were like their recruitment worlds are still existing because of what you said. Like the Imperium still wants to take from their resources. So what happens to the families of the Soul Drinkers that became Chaos? Nothing. They're just still there. They're not corrupted. It was the Soul Drinkers that got corrupted. Good question, though. Next one.
This one's by Tease Family Kent. What faction do you think the Tyranids fear the most, and why?
Which faction do the Tyranids fear? I don't think they fear anything.
Yeah, they don't really fear anything. But which one would they want to avoid? I'd say the Necrons. There's no biomass to eat. Necron weaponry like de-atomizes them. They've got pylons, which severs their connection to the hive mind. Because hive mind is not, it's synapse, it's not warp. Yeah, but still, I'd say the Necrons, because like there's nothing really to eat.
Yeah, and also by threat, or like by fear, it's like that the Necrons are the biggest threat. I don't think that Tyranids possess fear in the same way that humans interpret fear. They are so confident in their ability to just consume because it's a hive mind. Mm-hmm. It's not just one lonely Hormagaunt or Termagaunt that's like scared, even though there's morale tests for them.
Battle shock nowadays.
Yeah, battle shock. But it's the fact that like it's a hive mind, so it's all interconnected.
Yeah, in order for like a Tyranid to be scared, it's like you have to rupture its synapse, and then even then they revert to instinctive behavior,
which is fight or flight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess they could be scared into running away.
Yeah, that's the flight.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're not really dealing with a Tyranid. You're just dealing with a bioform that is disconnected from the hive mind, which is really just like you biting your nail. Like your nail is not part of you anymore because it's off.
Right.
But it still is you. And
they could clone you from it.
Right. Last question. I have one from Uncivil Engineer RL. Do you know that Anatolia is a region of Turkey? It's the butt that produces towards Europe, Greece specifically. It's the butt that protrudes out towards Europe. Okay.
Yeah. So the reason why we're getting all geographical here is because we were asked where the emperor was originally from, and it's Anatolia. The emperor took many different names, many different personalities, since he is a perpetual. So Alexander the Great, Jesus, just to name a few. So yeah, he's originally from Anatolia.
Why not Jagatai Khan? That hasn't been a thing, right?
No, because he's a Primarch.
Or sorry, not Jagatai Khan. Genghis
Khan.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting because Genghis Khan had like hundreds of kids.
Oh yeah.
So that would mean like the vast part of humanity stems from the emperor's, not gene seed, but seed.
So that just makes I keep wanting to say Jagatai Khan, but it's not. It's Genghis Khan makes him even like more badass because he was just a regular human who existed at the time that in 40K obviously that existed at the time of the emperor, and like he was even better than the emperor because Alexander the Great, he conquered a lot, but he didn't conquer anything compared to Genghis Khan. So
who knows? That might have been him.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you for letting us know of where the emperor came from. And those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, please comment down below. Thank you guys so much for listening.
And we'll keep these questions coming. Be sure to put question before your question because we get to those questions first. And as always, guys, super thanks is the way. If you want to see your question be a thumbnail question, and if not, we'll get to those questions. I said question a lot. So, without further ado, this has been The Sound Alchemist.
Gershwin.
And we are out.